Hi everyone, it's Heather. We just wrapped up week 2 here at Bikram Yoga Teacher Training, and it was a doozy. It was definitely a little intense and a little insane, and where I started off the beginning of the week and where I'm at now here at the end of the week is, I'm still in a good mood. I still love being here, and, I don't feel like this was a mistake at all by any means. This is wonderful. But, we started off the week really great with senior teacher Emmy Cleaves, who, if you know the Bikram world, you know what a big deal she is and how wonderful she is and what an honor it is to train under her. So we started off Monday morning with a class with Emmy, and she was just magical, and it was a great class and just wonderful. And she's very sneaky in class. She walks around, and before you know it, you think she's over on the other side of the room, and then all of a sudden you feel her tapping you and pointing at your chin and saying, you, Heather, get your chin up in Half Moon. She did ride me about like dropping my chin a little in Half Moon, but she was great, and she's a wonderful teacher, and it's an honor just to practice under her. Monday night though was very different than Monday morning. Monday night's class, it was a hot day on Monday in San Diego. It got to about 112 degrees Fahrenheit here in San Diego, which is very hot, and they turned the heat on in the room. And so not only was it 112 outside, it was insanely hot inside. So people were dropping like flies in class, and everyone around me, except for one person, my friend Jane from the Sweaty Gazette, she's the only other person around me who stayed in the room. Everybody else got up and walked out a couple of times, and you're not supposed to do that in Bikram yoga, ever. And I didn't, I didn't walk out, but it took every ounce of mental strength for me not to walk out because it was an insanely hot day, and I sat out a lot of the postures. It was intense. But the rest of the week, the classes were pretty good. But I will say that towards the end of the week, I got a little bit bitchy. And that actually brings me to one of the things that I asked, or that I wanted to talk about this week. I asked you guys to, come to me with any questions you have that I might be able to answer about teacher training, that I'm allowed to answer, because I'm not allowed to answer everything because some things are sacred here at teacher training. But there are some things that I am able to answer. So I have a list that you guys sent to me. And one of the first questions was, how did you pay for teacher training? Well, for me, I actually originally intended to go to teacher training in the fall of 2009 in Vegas. But I had moved to Canada, and my husband and I had just bought a house. And a couple of months earlier, when I was living in Boston, I'd been laid off at my job and gotten a very generous severance package. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I have the money for teacher training, and I'll go in the fall. And we ended up buying, my husband and I ended up buying a house. And so I just didn't feel comfortable using my teacher training money to go when we had just bought a house, and you never know with startup costs with a house if something will happen. So I decided to just save the money, and over the last year I was able to save a lot more money to add to my teacher training thing. So I actually ended up getting my own room here at teacher training. I ended up springing for it. It's very expensive, but it's very much worth it. And so I paid. I had the cash because I'd gotten laid off, and there are a couple people here who have similar stories to mine where they got laid off at their job, and it's like, hey, what do I do with this cash? Okay, well, I'm gonna just gonna go for it and go to teacher training rather than save it. But a lot of people put teacher training on their credit card. And if you're comfortable with carrying that kind of debt, I say go for it. This is definitely worth it. And I know a lot of people who've done it that way. They do offer, from my understanding, 2 scholarships every session of teacher training to people that covers just the tuition, not the room and board, but just the tuition. And I do know one of the people who got one of the scholarships this session. She's a wonderful lady, and she's well deserving of the scholarship. So they do offer scholarships, but they're not easy to get. You really have to, I don't know what the criteria are, but you have to be a really special person to get them. Another person emailed and asked, is teacher training filled with skinny folks? No. I, by no means, am a skinny folk at all. I'm one of the curvy people here, and trying to tone up my body. And, there are all body types here: young, old, fat, skinny, curvy, not so curvy. So there's all types here, and not everybody, I'd say maybe 50% have the typical yogi body. The rest of us have normal people bodies. So yeah, the important thing is that you have a good practice and that you're able to deal with the stamina of teacher training. You don't need the yogi body by any means. One person emailed and asked, can you ditch the movies that you watch at teacher training? Well, the late night movies, they're part of the process. Why would you want to ditch them? I mean, they're actually pretty good movies so far. They're filled with very hot Hindi actors. Why would you want to ditch them? No, they're actually really good. Yeah, you watch them late at night after you've had a lecture, and movies usually don't start until 11:30 at night, and you're there till like 3 or 4 in the morning. but they're part of the process. Why would you want to ditch them? Some people have, and they haven't gotten caught, but if they ditch them enough times, they will suffer the consequences, but they're part of the process, and why would you want to ditch them? It's more about seeing if you can, it's more about your stamina and what you can deal with, and the movies are there. They're part of the process because it's like, okay, you stay up late, you have a lecture, you have a movie, and then you have to get up 3 hours later for class. Do you have the ability to do that? And in teacher training, you that's one of the things you discover about yourself. What are you actually capable of doing? So the movies are part of the process. I don't know why anybody would want to ditch them. Are the classes long? One person asked. No, they're under 2 hours. They're not that long. They don't feel long. They feel the appropriate amount of time. So they're not too bad. Another person asked, how is the food? Food you're having to provide for yourself. So it's a lot of, what you can keep, in your room on top of your fridge. What are you keeping in your room? So it's sandwiches, crackers. I bought some wheatgrass shots, some frozen wheatgrass shots that I stuck in my fridge, and I drink those in the morning. There's also a lot of bread, a lot of rice. I have a rice cooker here, so a lot of brown rice. One of the nurses that we had this week here at teacher training, said something that's really important for people to understand when they come to something like this. What we're doing here is harder than running a marathon, and you're doing this every day, except for one day a week. You're doing 2 classes 5 days a week and 1 class on Saturdays. Eating is not about pleasure here. Eating is all about stamina. So you need to make sure you're getting your protein, your complex carbs, that you're hydrating properly. You're not just drinking water. You have to be drinking electrolytes. You need to not be eating so much sugar or coffee because those things aren't really adding to your body or adding to your performance. So, and your stamina to be able to stay up for the late lectures and the classes and to memorize your dialogue, you need brain food. So eating is not about pleasure here. It's about maintaining and stuff. Another person asked, how do you keep in touch with the outside world? I email. Internet's about $20 here through AT&T. And I email my husband every day, and then we call each other. He calls me on Sunday mornings, but it's all about email. He's off doing his thing in Toronto. I'm here doing my thing, and he's giving me the time to do this. So you can't be high maintenance. You can't be in a high maintenance relationship. When you come here, you have to actually be able to take a break and break away and be able to have your space and stuff. One person also asked, what do you love about training and what do you hate about it? Well, what I love so far are the people. People have been so wonderful. Even Bikram himself, he's so funny. I don't think people realize it. He's a funny, funny man. He's hilarious. So the people here are great. I've made some really good, really wonderful friends. The one thing I have hated, this week was a really bitchy week for me. And, in last night's class, Friday night's class, a woman came and put her mat right in front of mine, which is a no-no in Bikram yoga. You should move it just a little bit to the side. She put her mat right in front of mine. And she, it was really close. And she wasn't conscientious of the people around her or the fact that I was standing behind her and that I was there first. And so during the floor series, she kept putting her feet on my mat where my face was supposed to go. Her feet kept bleeding off of her mat onto mine, onto my towel, right where my face is. That's messed up. And I kept passive-aggressively sort of like breathing on her so that she would move her feet, and she wasn't paying attention to it. So at one point, I just flat out said, move your fucking feet. And she did. But that's what I've realized since coming to training is that I kept a lot of my anger in and internalized it, or maybe wrote about it on my blog, or was very passive-aggressive about it. I'm done with that now. Even in every aspect. I'm not going to be a complete bitch or completely blunt to people, but I'm going to really be I'm learning that I need to be more vocal about my anger to the person rather than just blow up or internalize it and stuff. So a lot of great things are coming out of training here in week 2. It was a rough week. But we've got some really great things happening this week, and I'm really excited. And I've got people coming out who are going to come see all of us. Benny from Las Vegas training last fall is going to come and visit us in a couple of weeks. Juliana, who just graduated in the spring training and who's a great, wonderful person in the Bikram yogi world. She's going to be coming soon, and we've got some great people, some great teachers that are coming our way, and some great things happening this week. So again, continue to send us some great energy here, and I'll talk to you guys next week.